It's great to see you guys. Scott Talley here in Houston, Texas. And, one of the things I realize is how difficult and challenging it is for business owners and decision makers and everybody that's not working for some big corporate entity to take care of themselves. And so about a year ago, we started incorporating some type of quality of life type of discussion at least once a quarter on our speaker series. So today we're going to dive into that. And I feel really fortunate because I have gotten to witness firsthand. My wife would probably be mad at me for telling this story, especially today on her birthday. But I'm going to tell this story. My wife did some different things around trying to get some balance in her life after having 3 kids in 4.5 years, and had a little bit of impact and moved the needle. And then she hooked up with a lady in Austin, Texas, a member of Network in Action. And she started working out and eating right. And I have never seen the needle get moved so far in terms of the quality of life of an individual as I did with my wife. So I want to bless her for that on her birthday. And I just applaud her for, she's not a person who cares about what she eats, Natalie. So I keep telling her it's easy for her because I live to eat. She eats because she has to live. So with that backdrop, let me introduce Nathalie Sessions, who's a member of Network in Action. She's a seasoned wellness dietitian and health coach. Her mission is to empower your eating by ending the confusion around what, when, and how to eat without compromising taste and enjoyment. That sounds like a dream talk, Nathalie. If you can accomplish half of that, I'm in. She helps busy professionals who want to vastly improve their energy levels, increase their mental focus, and look and feel great without harsh diets with her 3-step nutrition and lifestyle program. She's got a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Foods. She has worked with a bunch of different people, from a community outreach for Texas Medical Center, a research project coordinator for a Houston entity, a nutritionist for a Dallas Community Health Center, a clinical dietitian for a Houston area hospital, and corporate wellness. She's got 20 years. You must have started when you were 5, Natalie. 20 plus years, she's embarked on her journey as an entrepreneur by launching her private practice, Nutrition Sessions LLC. She's inspired by her late grandmother, who lived to be 100, and I understand was living life large up to the end. So Nathalie, welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing your talents with us today. It's all yours.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you to everybody for showing up today. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to spending the next hour or so with you. I would love if you want to pop in the chat, what drew you here today. With this particular topic, we will definitely have time for Q&A. But yeah, feel free to share, what some of your questions are in the chat. And hopefully we'll definitely get to those today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can I get a thumbs up or something to know we can see the screen? Okay.
That's
so
great.
Just a quick disclaimer to keep my attorney happy. What I am providing today is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not giving out in this venue one-on-one advice. So just a quick disclaimer there. We are going to have some edutainment today, as I like to call it. So in our brief time together over the next hour or so, what I'm going to share with you is what I call the energy formula. We're going to, of course, share, as the title of the talk implies, some strategies to elevate your plate when you're doing your meal planning and eating out and enjoying all your meals. I'm hoping y'all will be game for a short group activity I have planned. And I have a special invitation for those of you joining live. And of course, like I mentioned, some Q&A. So can I get a thumbs up? Does that sound like a good plan? All right. So think about it on a daily basis. You can even guess in the chat here if you want. How many food decisions do we make every day? I'd love to see what some of your guesses are, to see if anyone wants to take a guess at how many in a given day. I see 50, 20, 200. Somebody got it right. Somebody has my notes here. So yeah, it's estimated that we make approximately 200 decisions a day around the food we eat. Which ones are we eating? Where are we going to have? What are we going to eat? All of that. So what I see, what I've seen in my experience and the work I do is that there then becomes a lot of stress and a lot of confusion, a lot of conflicting information out there around food and nutrition. And it makes it really challenging to know what to eat. And so that's, a big part of what I do in my work with clients. So just briefly, in case you're not familiar with what a dietitian can do for you, we can do a number of things. I won't read the list here, but I did want to highlight a few things. So if you are someone or someone close to you that's managing high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, other conditions like that. And if you're like a lot of people I talk to, you just found out this news, it might be surprising to you, and you are a little bit, concerned about what to do. You maybe don't want to go on medication, or you want to get off of medication. Often those kind of folks are the ones seeking out a dietitian. Of course, if you have any digestive challenges, you're really just looking to maintain your health as you get older. Maybe you are very healthy and you want to stay that way. And bottom line, in terms of what I do, is just you want practical advice. You want practical guidance that's going to work for your lifestyle. So just a few to name. And also like to distinguish whenever I get an opportunity to educate, I like to share, because I get this question a lot. The term nutritionist is thrown around as well as dietitian, and they're not exactly the same thing. So the quick take home here is that every registered dietitian is a nutritionist, but not every nutritionist is a dietitian. There are some, certifications for certified nutritionists and different things, but it's not the same thing. As a registered dietitian, we go through multiple layers of education and training. We have to complete a certain number of hours every 5 years, to maintain our licenses. We're licensed food and nutrition experts. So just wanted to share that as well. All right. So let's all just take a deep breath, get into the space here, come into our space together. And I want you to just take a few moments to visualize the different aspects of your life that you feel are the most important to you. You'll see some things pop up here on the screen. There's no right or wrong answer to this question, but just thinking about what do you value the most? What are the activities and people and places and things that mean the most to you? And think about where you are right now in your own health and wellness journey. And is your eating in particular, there's a lot of things that influence our health and wellness, but nutrition and eating is 80 to 90% of that. So just think for yourself where you are right now, and is your way of eating and what you're eating supporting your desires, short-term and long-term? I like to say that, it may be time for some of you, if we use an investment analogy, we're building up our retirement funds, our investment accounts. We typically aren't putting, large lump sums in. It's the everyday deposits, if you will, that we make that can contribute over time to, for example, hopefully lower healthcare costs. Like I say, invest now in your health and lifestyle so that as you get older, as you age, you maintain your stamina, your strength through your lifestyle choices. Does that make sense? I'd love to hear if that is resonating with anyone there. Okay, so I promised to share, that I have what I call an energy. So we'll have a little miniature, very mini. I don't know if we have any scientists in the audience today. But just quickly to give us a framework for the rest of the talk, I want to just share this. We won't get into too much, high level of detail, but chemistry tells us that the formula for energy is the combination of water, oxygen, and glucose. And every, cell in our body, in our brain depends on water. We're going to talk more about that in a moment. Oxygen is involved, of course, and glucose. So water and glucose are the two parts of this equation that I want to call out for today's purposes. Glucose is needed by all of our cells and all of our organs, in our bodies to give us energy. ATP is an abbreviation for a very long word that I won't bother you with today, but it's basically the way that we get energy from our food. And calories, in case you're wondering, are a measure of that energy. So this is just our framework here. So I want to go into more detail on a couple of these points. So hydration is vital. I literally could do an entire presentation just on water. In my former life in corporate wellness, we actually did do a talk just on hydration. But for today, it's really one of my top tips for you, is how important it is to stay well hydrated. So you can see some examples here on the screen of all of the different, this is just a short list of the things that water is involved in. Again, every cell in the body is dependent on this. I say that, we could go days without eating. I don't recommend that, but that's not the case for water. So if we're talking about energy today, and that's a number one sort of complaint that I hear a lot from people seeking my guidance, that, oh, I'm so tired, I don't have energy, I'm drained. Well, a great way is to check in with yourself on your hydration and specifically water. So making sure you stay well hydrated to maintain your energy, because often that can get confused for hunger when really you are just needing hydration. So a pro tip I offer is start your day like out of the gate. First thing after you wake up, get a glass of water and then, sip on it throughout your day and find a strategy that works for you, perhaps before and after each meal. Again, our needs vary, but, making sure you are hydrating, throughout the day. And then that other part of that equation, that energy equation, is glucose. So I want to spend a moment here talking about that glucose is the preferred and primary fuel for the body. And it breaks down into sugar, and then it metabolizes into energy. We're very much simplifying it for our talk today, but this is a very key component, for energy. And, as it says here, it comes from carbs. And so I know carbs often get a bad rap, or there's a lot of confusion around, carbs, protein, and fat, but carbs in particular seem to be a hot topic all the time. So, glucose, again, is coming from the foods we eat, specifically from carbohydrates, and it's broken down. So if you are feeling sluggish, if you're feeling low energy, another thing to check in with yourself about is, have you had enough carbohydrates in terms of what you're eating? I'd love to see in the chat if y'all can name a few examples of some carbohydrate food sources, just to make sure we're all having a good understanding of what those are. So feel free to share. Yeah, I'm seeing some brown rice, corn, pita. Great. Fruits and veggies. Absolutely. Pasta, fruit. Yes. So those are all, all kind of your breads, your pastas, your grains. I see quinoa there. So yeah, y'all are of course familiar with those. So the key here if we want to have consistent energy throughout the day, we need to fuel consistently to keep our blood sugar happy and, keep that stable throughout the day to maintain our energy and our stamina. So we've already talked about this. So just want to share here, there's different types of carbs, and you all did a great job there. So a really important factor, as I just mentioned, to power up your productivity, to keep mental focus. A key here is to establish what works for you for a regular eating pattern. So just a simple graphic there to note that. All right. Okay, so I want to get more into some strategies now to elevate your plate. We've already shared about water, and then like timing is really important, staying consistent throughout the day so we don't have those big dips or spikes too much. So my first strategy to share with you today is maybe something new, a new concept for a lot of you, and that is to unlock an all foods fit mindset. meaning that, I take a non-diet, non-restrictive approach in my work with clients. Of course, there are different nutritional values to different foods. So we're not talking about throwing all caution to the wind and it's a free for all. That's not what we're saying. But what we want to aim for is a variety, moderation, and balance to be able to embrace all foods that we love. It's probably fun to share. I'm of French and Italian descent. So, we're all about enjoying eating. And when we do this, I'm totally an advocate and a result of, enjoying all kinds of different foods and also sticking to a health, committing to my health. So what else do I want to share here? I get really excited, so I have to look at my notes to make sure I don't forget to share some important points with you. Okay, so just to explain a little bit more about the variety moderation. So variety is a big one. Part of eating is not only to nourish us and provide nutrition, but eating is meant to be an enjoyable experience. And the diet culture and dieting and restriction really takes that piece of it out of the equation. And it's so important. So to increase your satisfaction with eating and to increase your nutrition and your absorption of nutrients and so forth, it's so important to get a variety of, mostly wholesome foods like the ones you name, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, etc. And not only that, it'll get rid of things like boredom. If we're always eating the same thing all the time and never getting that variety, that will decrease our satisfaction, and we will miss out on all kinds of different nutrients by restricting or limiting what we're eating. And then moderation, I think you're probably that's really the all foods fit, that kind of everything in moderation. I think we're all pretty familiar with that concept. And then the balance there, kind of a take home note for balance is, one meal isn't going to derail you. It's really cumulative, kind of think of that, investment analogy we talked about at the beginning. The market goes up and down. Sometimes we have ups and downs with the way we're eating, or we go on vacation, or whatever the case may be. So it's across a day, across a week, are we getting a good balance of nutrition? Okay. And I do see questions. We're going to save questions more toward the end. We are going to address those questions before we wrap up today. So no worries. We'll come. I will say I did see a couple of comments about intermittent fasting, and just briefly there, my stance, my take on it is, I see much more research and evidence in the people I work with, and just evidence in the literature, that while there may be certain health benefits to intermittent fasting that are being studied and more research is needed, what I see more often in success is to have a more stable, a more regular eating pattern, not going long periods without eating for the reasons we've been talking about today, to maintain energy, and so forth. So we could talk a little bit more about that if we need to later, but that's just kind of my quick answer on that. So here, another strategy to elevate your plate is to pay attention to see if you can include protein, fat, and fiber-rich foods in most meals. I want you to notice I didn't say every single meal. We're not striving for perfection, but generally speaking, can we at our meals incorporate these? Again, fiber, protein, fat, all contribute to our satiety, our feeling of fullness, and our satisfaction with eating. So the graphic just shows you a few examples, but a good strategy there. And then I am a huge advocate of plant-based eating, and for good reason. There's a ton of research to support this. And notice here I'm saying include enough vegetables. Most Americans, adults and children, are not getting the recommended amounts of vegetables and other wholesome foods, but especially vegetables, that is known to be health promoting. So for health promotion purposes, most people in America are not getting enough. And you can see here, there are a number of health benefits associated with those that do get enough. So I won't read the list, but everything from brain to heart, to lowering our risk for a number of different things, for our longevity, for our gut health, body composition, you name it, it's pretty much on the list there. All right. So, just a little inspiration here to change our eating habits. If that's something that needs to happen, I like this. We must learn to eat mindfully, being more aware of chewing and tasting what we eat so the brain can register the incoming nutrients. I'll talk about this more in a moment. So my next strategy to share with you today is about the pace at which we eat and sort of the environment in which we eat. So it's to slow down and savor the flavor. So what I mean by this, most people I work with, and in the research shows that most people are fast eaters. So it takes your brain and your gut about 20 minutes to communicate with one another. And so, coming into your meal times as calmly and, I know we're all very rushed and busy. We're all busy professionals, but if you can just give yourself the gift of 20 minutes, I'll even negotiate with you and say at least 10 minutes to sit down and focus on your meal as distraction-free as possible, and really chew your food. Your stomach doesn't have teeth, so digestion begins in the mouth. So chewing, and not only that, if that's not enough to convince you to slow down and chew, that's where, taste, you're going to get more satisfaction. It's going to, all the different textures that you're breaking down when you're chewing, it's really going to elevate your flavor experience with food. So, again, for multiple reasons, satisfaction and helping out your digestive system so things flow better. We want to slow down and savor. So hopefully, I'd love to know if that's resonating with anyone there. So I didn't specifically call it out, but one strategy you could try is chewing your food 20 times, depending on how large your bite is. You might find that you eat less, when you actually sit down, slow down, and chew more. So really, really interesting research there. So a tool that can help you with this slowing down and savoring that I'm talking about to help you check in with your hunger. I'd love to know with a hand raise or a thumbs up if anyone has heard of a hunger and fullness scale. This is just one example you see here on the screen, but it's a great way to help you assess where you are. We eat for a lot of different reasons. And so this goes from anywhere from primal hunger or that hangry, like, you're no fun to be around because you waited too long to eat and you're just famished. Your blood sugar has dipped, your energy's probably, super low. And then moving on down to level 10, where you are painfully stuffed. Lightheartedly refer to that as Thanksgiving, where, you've just eaten so much, you're like, I'm never eating again. So most of the time, the tip here is to stay in the neutral zone, checking in with yourself around when you're hungry, when you first feel hungry, really honoring your hunger. And I have a special gift for everyone here today. If you'd like to download a hunger and fullness scale, a different version, you can quickly capture this if you're not joining the call from your phone, or you can visit nutritionsessions.com/scale and get your free hunger scale and give it a try and let me know how that works for you. So I'll just pause here for a moment in case people are trying to capture that gift. Okay. And we can always come back to this if you didn't get it, so no worries there. So because we are a group of professionals gathering here today, just quickly wanted to share, because I get this question a lot, well, I'm on the go. There's days where I'm not even, in my office or at home, depending on what your work environment is. So these are just some quick things to think about depending on the situation. If you are dining out, it's totally possible to honor your goals for yourself in terms of eating, planning ahead if you can, seeking out places that have a wide range to eat. And especially where you could get vegetables and really all of those same principles we've been talking about, the protein, the fat, the fiber, applying that when we're eating on the go as well, whenever possible, paying attention to, how things are prepared. If it is important to you to maintain healthy eating on the go. And, don't forget about your vegetables. There's always an opportunity to boost different kinds of dishes, even sandwiches and things with vegetables, or substitute other things for vegetables. If you are at an office, stocking your fridge or your mini fridge with things that you could grab for a quick meal if you don't have time to have a full meal. You see some examples there. Even supermarkets today, grocery stores have a lot of options for grab and go, if you will. And then just packing snacks. I always have water with me. I go to a lot of networking events, other events, and you will almost always find me with some kind of a snack in my purse or something to know in case I need to curb or manage my hunger between meals. So just wanted to offer that because I know a lot of us are on the go. And if you are in a leadership role, I just want to quickly offer this, in terms of work site wellness. Again, that could be a presentation all onto its own, but having come from a corporate wellness background most immediately before I started my business, we did work, as consultants sometimes for workplaces and thinking about, leading as in a leadership role or management role, leading by example, determining, is it absolutely necessary that at this meeting we must have refreshments? It may or may not be. And if so, what could we consider including some more nutritious options for those that may want that as an option if we are serving food at meetings or work events? And if you want to take it, elevate it another step up, do you want to go so far in your organization as to develop specific guidelines, for food at meetings? So just, again, giving you a taste here, no pun intended, about things to think about when we think about workplace wellness as well. And then, of course, when we talk about elevating our plate and boosting our nutrition, again, it is a huge influence. 80 to 90% of our overall health and well-being is influenced by what we eat. But of course, it is also important, and which is why I take this holistic approach in my practice to consider other lifestyle factors for your eating, energy, and productivity. If you are sleep deprived, that will most definitely affect your hormone, your appetite regulating hormones. It will affect your energy level, of course, if you're not getting enough sleep, enough quality sleep, and then that will have this ripple effect on the food choices you make because you're going to be seeking quick energy. And so it could impact you in that way. And then you see here all the things. Movement, stress is huge. If anyone does shift work, that can throw things off. And then any underlying, medical or health things going on. I know for my female clients, lots of hormonal imbalances going on, medical conditions, medications, and then a really big one is digital toxicity. I'd love to know if you all have heard this term. If you want to pop in the chat and let me know, but in case you're not familiar, a very short way to describe it is just repeated exposure to screens, phones, computers, everything for long periods of time, and especially at night, the stimulating light that can affect our sleep patterns. So you see, it's all related, right? Does this make sense? It's all connected. Okay, So that is a lot of information that I am like going through here. So I'm just going to maybe pause for a moment. And maybe Daniel, you can help me check the chat in case I missed any questions. We might just pause before we go into the activity and do a little.
If anybody wants to light up the chat right now with any questions,
Q&A.
feel free. But you did briefly touch on the intermittent fasting that they were talking about, or did you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, again, okay, what I'll say about it is just like different doctors have different opinions about things, same thing for us dietitians. So my opinion and my approach in my work with people, intermittent fasting is not something I'm going to recommend. But if you were my client and you were like insisting that, you want to, we would talk and we would negotiate. But I would just say that I haven't seen enough compelling evidence on my end to make me want to recommend it. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, based on what I see in the science and everything. Because, and I'll say another reason for that, my take on that is that I like people to develop habits for life. What can you do for life? What is sustainable? And I feel like intermittent fasting, well, I should say also, it's important to note it's not appropriate at all for certain individuals, such as pregnant women, people with diabetes, anyone with a very a history of disordered eating. So there are certain individuals where it's definitely not appropriate. So that is what I have to say about IF.
I have a question, and then there's a couple more that popped up in the chat here. What would you say? And I apologize for our international viewers. This is a very American question right here, but I'm sure it applies to others. But what would you say, perhaps in our culture, is the main contributing factor to the obesity problem?
Oh gosh, that is a big question. It's kind of all the factors you see on this slide here, plus the nutrition, of course.
Yeah.
It's a multifactorial, complex issue and challenge. I mean, in my world of nutrition, of course, the things that are talked about the most are, the rise of more processed and packaged foods, a lot more added sugars, even the diet culture itself. And when I say that, for those that might not know what that means, this obsession almost with diets and different types of diets and eating plans that are very, asking you to eliminate different food groups and things like that. That actually also contributes to it because it puts people in this diet cycle, this on again, off again. And it's just this just cycle.
Very familiar with that.
And it's very harmful to the body to go through all of that. So, we could just talk so much about that. So, and, I'd also like to say that weight is not what it's all about. Health comes in a lot of different sizes and body types. And so, yes, we want to, elevate our health, and, most of us are striving, it depends what your health goals are, but let's assume here we're all striving for optimal health. We're going to want to look at all those different factors and all the lifestyle factors. Of course, we're in in certain parts of the world, certain parts of our country, very sedentary, a lot more work from, the list goes on and on.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
There are so many factors so I don't know if that answers because it's so complicated, but
it's obvious, but I wasn't sure if there was just a main thing that you wanted to, if you could just eliminate,
okay. If you're giving me my pick, I'm going to take a stance, and I might say something like regular consumption of sugary beverages.
There you go.
I'll pick one.
That's a layup. All right. Got some more questions in the chat lighting up. So Angela, and I'm actually interested in this one too. What is your experience and thoughts about supplements?
Oh, yes. I get this question a lot. So I think dietary supplements have their time and place. I mean, if we have a known nutrient deficiency and we are unable to correct it and address it through food, of course, I'm a food first. Again, my approach is food first. What can we do with our food? But if that's not going to cut it, for example, a good example of this would be vitamin D. It's the most common deficiency, and it's very difficult to obtain vitamin D through food. So we want to optimize our vitamin D for many reasons: mood, health, immunity, so important. And so there is an example. If your vitamin D level is very low or even just low normal, it would be very appropriate to consider. Again, I'm not giving personal advice, but most doctors now are prescribing it, and it's something I would talk about with my clients. So yes, they have their time and place, but there's no magic pills. It's individual. I work with clients, one-on-one to say, is it appropriate? Do we need to think about supplementation here?
On that, do you have there's some things that are advertised to boost metabolism and things like this. So it resonates as kind of scammy with me. Any advice on navigating that?
Yeah, I'll say, to be a savvy consumer, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And, so that there's that to consider. And, dietary supplements in the US are not regulated in any way the same way that like pharmaceutical drugs are. And so there's just a lot of questions about, there are ones, and I am a practitioner on a platform that has, pharmaceutical grade, third-party verified supplements. So if I am going to recommend a supplement to a client, you're going to want high quality, know where you're going to do your research. And consider me a resource for that when you're knowing what to look for on a label and things like that. So yes, I see someone, Elaine, they're called supplements for a reason. They're not to take the place of, they are to supplement. So yes.
All right. From Peter Rogers, please tell us about coffee and green tea. Good, bad, neutral, and how much?
So I really go as much as I can. I try not to use the words good or bad, and just approach all foods as neutral. And so specifically for coffee and green tea, there's some benefits, when you're, again, keeping in mind the moderation and the balance topics we talked about earlier. So yeah, a good quality cup of coffee or a high quality, coffee too has antioxidants. And so just timing of caffeine is something to consider. If it's, could potentially disrupt your sleep. Green tea has about half the amount of caffeine that coffee does. So yeah, I say in moderation, those are fine.
Right on. So from B. Jessen, can you outline some satisfyingly healthy, fairly healthy, but not perfect snacks besides fruits, nuts, and vegetables? I got a couple in mind. What you got?
Yeah. So I would say to think about the balance piece. So like if we think about fat, fiber, and protein that I'm suggesting to consider at most meals, and also would apply that to snacks. So maybe pairing your fruits and, with your nuts to get, to balance your energy. Or with your vegetables, maybe, the whole vegetables, hummus, beans, bean dips. It just depends. I could have lists and lists of snacks. Do DIY trail mix. So instead of buying like prepackaged trail mix, like make your own, even like vegetable broth or vegetable soups.
What are your thoughts on like beef jerky or chicharrona, some of that gas station junk?
So I typically will say use caution or be aware that it may or may not be, depending on the location, may not be the best strategy to fuel yourself or you fuel your car, but there are exceptions. So if they have some cheese sticks or whole grain crackers and, some of the beef jerky might be okay, like a lean beef, and watching the sodium on that. So
you have big thoughts on sodium, huh?
Well, sodium is an important nutrient to consider for things such as high blood pressure. again, if we go back to me mentioning that most people are not getting enough vegetables, vegetables are a very rich source of potassium and are naturally low in sodium. And then if people are eating more, they're not getting enough of that variety of vegetables, and then they're getting more like packaged processed foods that many of which have high sodium, then that's out of whack. Sodium and potassium work together to regulate our blood pressure. So again, here we go with the balance example.
Yeah. All right. From Sarah Branch, is the basic weight maintenance approach of calories in, calories out a realistic approach?
I will say short answer, no.
Reasoning?
It is, well, it just doesn't work like that. It's not that simple of an approach. There's just more to it. It leaves out so many things. That's just not the approach. Yes, for my clients, I would estimate their needs, doing a nutrition assessment and so forth, but we really often aren't even talking about calories because I'm guiding them in what to eat. We eat food. We don't technically eat calories per se. So I focus more on what are the foods? How are you building your meals?
Yeah.
The practical part of it.
I think that like when you start eating quote unquote right, that naturally the calories are down anyway.
Yeah. And we can't forget, I just really want to introduce, because this is probably a new concept for a lot of people, is about honoring your hunger and paying attention, which is why I'm gifting everyone that hunger scale, hunger and fullness scale, because ultimately, if we are really attuned and develop that skill to really know our hunger cues, ultimately, our body is always our best guide. So going inward and again, I have programs and things where I support people in how to do that, because it involves often unlearning a lot of things that we've been taught. We've been taught things like calories in, calories out, or we haven't been taught nutrition at all. But so yeah, that again is kind of a more complicated question, but I've just seen enough to know that it just doesn't work like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. From Dana Tutlin, what is your experience and thoughts about emotional health and healthy eating?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what we eat absolutely affects our mental health and our mood. I mean, just even our mood. So different nutrients, again, I sound like a broken record, but if we're not getting a variety of nutrients, getting enough, eating the rainbow, if you will, and I don't mean the Skittles rainbow, I mean the produce rainbow, we're going to miss out on essential nutrients that fuel our brain and affect our emotional health. And then just the way we eat, emotional eating, it's normal. It's normal to again, we eat for a lot of different reasons, but learning how to manage our emotions and whether or not we're going to do that through food or seeking out support in another way, through friends or, there's just
I could tell you
different
that,
ways to address our emotional health and emotional eating.
Like one of my patterns is like I will diet for a long time and then I'll fall off the rails and then I'll just start feeling miserable. Right. And then the second I get back on and like I'll jumpstart with like a 3-day detox, which is just like raw veggies and lean meats. I just immediately feel better psychologically. I get more energy. I'm useful to people. It's it's so important.
It sounds like you've been on that diet cycle a bit. And
that's
I
my
really,
life.
I really am on a mission to get people off that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to be mindful of our time. How much more time do we have? Because I really want to try the activity.
We have another half hour if you're so inclined.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to make sure I'm not missing any important questions here. There's a question about macros. So again, I want you to not be stressed out about food. So and have an account and calculate and all of that. So I would say the important thing is the balance, is the getting enough of the fiber, the protein, the lean proteins, and, even not so lean proteins sometimes, because we want to be satisfied, and fiber rich. So if we could just aim for just looking at those kinds of foods rather than, looking at macros, I think you're just going to have a lot more satisfaction and a lot less stress.
Right on, right on.
Okay.
All right, just a real quick tangent, and I apologize for this. All right, everyone here, just be aware, I've dropped a link in the chat. If you want to be included on a list of the participants of today's meeting, I'll be sending it out tomorrow with Nathalie's recording of today's session. So you guys could be a part of that. Just make sure you fill out that form and you'll get that CSV. All right. Okay. That's the last time I'll say anything.
All right. And I will pop a couple links in the chat at the end as well. The one we already saw for the hunger and fullness scale, and something else I'm going to share with you. So, okay. Well, I hope y'all are game for a quick activity we'd like to do. Put some of your knowledge here to the test. So we're going to break you out just for a few minutes into breakout rooms. And what you need to do when you get to your room is decide a spokesperson. And then what we're doing here collectively as a group is we're going to elevate your plate in your dinner party skills. So the scenario is this: you are hosting a dinner party for someone, a VIP client, a celebrity, just someone that is super important to you, and you want to impress this person. And you learned that they eat plant-based eating. They are plant-focused. And so you want to impress them. And so the entire meal does not have to be vegetarian or plant-based, but it needs to, definitely incorporate that, because you are trying to impress this person. So if you want, you can decide who your person is. And then you need to choose within your group whether you're going to work all together. Hopefully not everybody will pick the same course, but we want to have some of the groups planning the appetizer, some planning the main course, some of our groups planning a side dish, and some planning a dessert. So decide first who your spokesperson is and what course you're planning, your group. You're only going to pick one course that you're planning. If you're doing the appetizer, main dish, or side dish, you must incorporate at least 2 vegetables. If you're planning the dessert course, you must incorporate at least 1 fruit. So I know that's a lot. Does that make sense?
It does. So Nathalie, I think we have enough here where we could actually name some of these rooms. So what are we calling room 1?
Room 1 is going to be appetizer.
Forgive my spelling, guys. I'm trying to rush here.
Or app. Right. We'll just say app if you want. Yeah.
All right. And room 2?
How many groups are we going to have?
We have 7.
Okay. So let's do soup. I didn't mention soup, but your soup has to have at least 2 vegetables if you're the soup group.
All right. What you got next?
Main dish.
Okay.
Then side dish. Ooh. Again, both of those, main dish, side dish, must each have at least 2 vegetables.
Making me hungry.
Dessert has to have at least 1 fruit. So what do you think? 5 minutes per?
Sure. We could do that. So we have main dish, side dish, and dessert.
Appetizer. We could do soup if you want. That could be.
Yeah, we have that. So we have appetizer, soup, main dish, side dish.
So do another side dish. We can have multiple side dishes, and then we'll all come together, and your spokesperson will share a little bit about what your dish is, and if you'd like, the theme could be like a spring break, spring break dinner party for your very VIP guest.
All right. So we will do you wanted 5 minutes?
I think that should be enough.
All right. We'll do 5 minutes with a 1 minute cool off. All right. So let's go ahead and recreate.
Great, have fun. I can't wait to hear the menu.
A few moments later.
We are all back.
Figure it out really quick. I didn't scare anyone away with the activity.
All right. So.
Okay, we're all back.
I hope it was fruitful. No pun intended.
And veggieful. Yeah. Okay, well, I just really appreciate y'all being game for that. In case you didn't hear me, we've never done this virtually, this activity. So yay, it can work. So I'd like to hear, you could take yourself off mute. Let's start with the appetizer groups and share with us briefly what you came up with for your appetizers.
Feel free to unmute, y'all.
All right. Well, I'm appetizer 1 with me and Russ. So we thought a good appetizer would be chicken because it's plant-based. No, I'm just kidding. We're talking about that's Russ's idea. So I'll leave that one to Russ. Zucchini curls and
Ooh,
also a spring roll, veggie spring roll.
excellent. A spring roll for spring break. I love it. Awesome. Okay, great. Who else had appetizer?
That was Russ and Samuel.
Anybody, any other appetizers?
Well, yes, I was thinking the roasted cherry tomato bruschetta.
Ooh, yum. Excellent. Okay, great job. All right. So any one last call for appetizers before we move on to soup. If we did a soup, I can't remember if we did the second time.
We
did.
also have stuffed bell peppers with
Oh,
chickpeas
great.
and mozzarella cheese.
Excellent.
Something about your accent makes me know that like you could really cook up something real nice. I don't know, like her voice makes me hungry.
I love cooking. I do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Everyone's doing great so far. Any other appetizers groups? Okay. How about soup? Did we get a soup? Did a group
We
get
did.
Okay. Who's our soup?
So 2 members of the group said, let's do tomato basil. And the way that we got around 2 different vegetables was because technically your tomato is a fruit. But we
Right.
also have celery in there that you cook in and shallots that get blended up in your immersion blender and then garnished, of course, with that basil. And then the other soup that we have is an ancient grain soup. It has barley, farro, multiple kinds of lentils, and potentially mung beans if you so choose, and a vegetable broth with carrots, celery, both the stalk and the leaves. That's important. Purple potatoes finished with a Moroccan spice.
Wow. Y'all get extra credit. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's like a meal
We got
right there.
some culinary people in the group.
Well, it
I
sounded like
love
she
it.
was reading a recipe, y'all.
Well, that's all right. Well, you know.
It is a recipe that I created actually years ago when I was looking for a balanced meal.
Now,
Yay.
are you the chef? Someone in the chat put that they did some chef services. I want to
I am the chef, yes.
Okay, I love dietitians love chefs. I want to be your friend. So
All right,
Great.
follow that second side group.
yeah, sorry. Side dish. Are we gonna do a side dish or main dish?
There was another group for sides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Side dish.
We had Crystal, Daylon, Natalie, and Shannon.
All right, I'm here. Hi, Natalie Schultz. Sorry about that. I couldn't get the unmute done. So because we want to impress someone, our side dish, we decided to create a mini salad bar, somewhere to get up from the table, take a little break. It can be elegant. You can add something fancy along the side, such as, steamed asparagus or Brussels sprouts with your regular garden vegetables, adding a different couple options for dressings, just so that way, if someone doesn't like the tomato or cucumbers, they can add their own toppings and get up from the table for just a quick break.
I love it. So you incorporated movement. So that's awesome. Very creative. Love it. All right. So main dish are we moving on to the main?
Yeah, we have 2 main groups, and I guess I flaked on dessert. So
Oh, no
I'm
dessert.
sorry, y'all. But I'm sure ideas. will
No
pop up.
dessert.
Come up
Oh,
with the dessert.
no.
Dan, you come up with the dessert.
pudding.
All right.
I have a dessert.
Oh, okay, great. All right. So let's first hear from our main entrees. What did we come up with?
So we were main entree,
Mhm.
and we came up with eggplant lasagna made with zucchini noodles and fresh tomatoes and basil and onions and all kinds of veggies. These people are going to be really full.
You're going to be vegged up. So
Yes.
great. Love it. And I feel like it all goes together, everything that we've heard. Perfect.
And everyone's going to get off this call and eat.
Yeah.
I know we're all hungry now.
I'm so hungry.
Whet our appetite. Okay. Is there
So-
another main?
We have.
Yes, there was,
We were
Okay.
also in Maine. Mandy was our chef, and we're doing a vegetarian pesto
We're making a pesto with portobello mushrooms and with oatmeal milk for cream.
Interesting.
And with a side of lentils for protein.
Wow, this sounds like my dream dinner. So I am really impressed. This is great. Y'all made my day. I love it. Okay, and do we have a dessert, or did you?
Yeah, somebody had a dessert idea.
I can help with dessert. So the first one I would think about, if we're staying plant-based with a fruit, do fresh peaches at the peak of ripeness. And then you can do those lightly fried cheese balls that they do in India, because it also has honey for your antioxidants. So you're not doing too bad. You can also, if you get the right kind of coating going on, you can actually bake those so that it's a little bit healthier. And then another dessert idea that I've done for a while is kind of two parts. You do a berry compote.
Oh, yeah.
And if you want to kind of elevate it a little bit, and I know it adds like carbs and a little extra, not so healthiness, do the compote in brandy and cook that all the way down. Do blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. Then you're going to add in a Honeycrisp apple and a Bosc pear, as well as one of those red pears. They hold a little bit of body. It's really nice, and it'll break up on you. That actually goes inside of a poached apple. So don't poach it with butter. You actually poach it with an alternative. So again, that way it's still healthier. It'll keep its body if you poach it at a low enough temperature, so that when you hollow out that core, you can put the compote on top. And you can put it with a vegan fruit-based soy ice cream. That's really wonderful as well. So we have all those fruits coming in.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're actually conjuring or reminding me of like a food memory of my late Italian grandma, who made baked apples. So when you started talking about that and compote, she would make compotes and things with like leftover fruit. So that was a really nice food memory for me. And I would say it's okay to use a little bit of butter. So that's going to elevate our satisfaction. We can still incorporate that, but I love that you all in all the different courses came up with all these alternatives. So I just give yourself a round of applause. That was an amazing dinner party. Yeah.
I feel cultured after that.
I know. And that's great. So thank you. Thank you. I hope y'all enjoyed that, putting your skills to practice. All right. So just as we wrap, this is just in case you needed inspiration, here's that rainbow I'm talking about. Like sometimes we forget, and just next time you go to your grocery store, envision your grocery store. Don't, be sure you mix it up week to week. As I wrap up here, I have a couple more things I want to share with you. Really, my take home is really that eating, again, I shared this earlier, is meant to be nourishing and pleasurable. So please don't forget that. And I hope you'll embrace that. And it's just really been a pleasure, hanging out with y'all today and being able to share some of my knowledge and hear all your questions. Really quickly, I just wanted to, for anyone that maybe is feeling very motivated to take a next step, I want to invite you to a special offer, I guess you could say. I don't do this all the time, but I want to gift 5 of you in the group today that participated to apply for 5 spots. I'm going to open up for an empowered eating strategy session. So if you feel like it's your time to raise your hand and say yes to elevating your plate, this is a 30-minute call that's typically valued at around, $150 or so. And from time to time, I do gift some of these, and, I love NIA. And so I want to, like I said, if you want to apply, you can visit the link here. I'll put it in the notes here shortly. And in the session, we really look at what is your vision, create a vision for you of your health and wellness. What are the things that are standing in your way? And I'll offer, some tips or strategies to get you started. So if you go to that link or click on the code, it'll have more of a description and you can submit your application. And the catch is that I'm only conducting these sessions between March 1st and March 15th. So if you're ready to take action, this is a great opportunity. And I would love and look forward to seeing your applications.
All right. I got one hand up right here.
Okay.
Shivana, what you got? Go ahead and unmute yourself. I think she was just enthusiastic about getting on that.
Okay, I'm going to stop my share here and I'm going to pop these links in the chat. The hunger and fullness scale, as well as the application for the strategy session. So that we have that here. Okay. And yeah, we still have a few minutes. So if there are any lingering thoughts or questions about anything we covered today or something else I can address, I am here.
I just think it was a really fun talk today. Let's see. Scott has a nice big comment here.
Oh, Scott.
All right. So
Well, I'll just wrap it up. I heard an analogy recently from a guy named Joe Polish. He's written a couple of great books about relationships. And he talked about the fact that if you had $1 million racehorse, you send it to the vet, once every month, you feed it the greatest nutrition 3 times a day. You make sure it gets exercise. And we have this body and it's the only one we have. Do we treat it like $1 million racehorse?
There you go. Yeah, the
Awesome.
best investment you can make, in my opinion, is in your health. Your health is your wealth. That's just the way it is.
Awesome. Well, thank all of you for taking the time out to sharpen your saw and join us. I hope that you found it as valuable as I did. Thank you, Natalie, for all your talents and sharing your offer with us. We appreciate you very much. And we will see you guys on the first Wednesday of March for Network with the Nations. Thank y'all. Have a great evening and a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
Take care, y'all.